So, my uncle was the first in our family to be admitted to Christ School at Ikere-Ekiti. School I call the Oxford of Ekiti.
This is the secondary school now?
Secondary school, yes. I attended it later too, but at the higher school level. So when he came home, he organized us, that was in December, and each year we produced 2 plays. We would invite the Ikere community. Okay. He would take episodes from the Bible. Israelites in the land of Egypt, Jacob and Esau, Jezebel and Samson. Jezebel and Samson. Samson, Delilah.
Samson and Delilah.
Samson and Delilah. Yeah. Samson and Delilah. And also fables. From English fables, Greek fables, and so on. King William's. These were basically stories that explored morals, but they would then make them into Yoruba operas in our family, I happen to have a good voice like my father, and within a short time, people were rooting for me.
All this time, this was when you were in primary school?
Primary school, 1957, 1958, 59. I was upper secondary school. Oh, yes. Plays of Shakespeare were also adapted to Yoruba operas. In our year, it was The Merchant of Venice, and I played Shylock. I think some of my mates then, those of them that are still alive, still call me Shylock today. So I had that experience at home. Remember, this was a great time for such things in Yoruba land, in the southwestern part of Nigeria. The tradition of Ogunde, of Duroladipo, of the best actor of them all, Kola Ogumala. Oh, Kola Ogumala influenced my acting style like crazy. No, the Nigeria I used to know was a better country. These people will have their place, and they will take the place around the schools. I didn't need to come to Ibadan or go to Abeokuta or whatever. No, they brought the thing to us in our village, in Ikere. I remember when Kola Ogumala brought the palm wine drinker. That was an adaptation of Amos Tutuola's The Palm Wine Drinker. Oh yes, emu, ejeka memu, mukara, mulowo lowo, muleniyan, mulaya mefa, mo bimo mejo, mo se kinika, mo tun kole, agbeka mefa nílé mi o, asan ni gbogbo re lójú mi, emu, ijo. Yes, and I mean, that was it. Ogumala played Lanke Omo. At a point, 5 minutes into the play, we forgot it was Ogumala. Then, about 2 years later, he brought another one, Love of Money. About, marital problems and so on. It was so good. When he was leaving, for that play, he had a special kind of drum style. Yes, ati joy, ati igwe, Iwaika onika ma dagba kadarugo, ṣùgbọ́n ọjọ́ àti sunlebo. And that Kola Ogumala, what the thing was going on? Kola Ogumala did that in Ikere, he went away. Up till now, I should style.
Wow.
Yeah.
The town adopted that drum style.
Secondary school, because it was so. And then when I got to Cry School, I discovered that it was also Pangbetan, Kitikanganji, you know, opening glee, closing glee.
Wow.
You know. So we had the traveling theater as models. And the educational system encouraged this full cultural immersion. You know, that if you keep young people doing these creative cultural things, you will be keeping them off the streets. And they really succeeded. So I had that practice at home. Now, school, final year, I auditioned. About 2 or 3 of us, I got the part of Shiloh and King Williams in another play. Well, from there to Amoye Grammar School. Now, my story here is not so happy. Because how many of us, about 1959, about 64 of us left school, primary school. Only 3 of us made it to secondary school. This is why I swore to myself, I will do everything to make sure that this kind of thing doesn't keep repeating itself. My mates who passed the entrance exam had no money. What saved me was, in addition to subsistence farming, my father also had a cocoa farm. Cocoa, Owo cocoa. It was £50 a year. That was what made the difference in our lives. There is a poem in one of my books, Village Voices, based on an actual experience. 1982, I was already a senior lecturer at the University of Ibadan, and I was coordinating the English department annual conference, and scholars came from different parts of the world. So I went to the staff hostel to see one of them from Kenya. So I said, "You want something to drink?" So press the button. And somebody came in. I saw that the moment that person came in, he avoided my face. No, I didn't know him, know who he was. So he served us, and as he rose to go, I saw Akpa. Yes, because I knew how that Akpa came about. I think it was a fight he had in primary school. So I looked at him, and our eyes locked. Yes, sir. I stood up where I was. I mean, tears were coming. Don't sigh me. It is where the word places through that. It was a very, very bad moment. It was one of those who passed the entrance exam, but I don't go to school. It became a hotel, whatever. Nigeria destroys many of our talents. This is what I will never forgive the system that did that. Where he was alive, quite a number of others had died. No. So every day is precious for me, and I'm both grateful and anxious. What can I do? What can I do? You know. Well, anyway, that was 3 of us made it to high school. Amoye Grammar School. That was the first time I was leaving home. Amoye Grammar School was a new school. In fact, when our set entered in 1961, we raised the population of the entire school to 81 students.
Oh, wow.
Chief Adeniro was the principal. Oh, my God. Durham trained. Came from classics from Akure. Extremely tough.
Where was the
man.
school located?
Ikere-Ekiti.
Ikere?
Yeah,
the grammar school was also in Ikere?
Yes, Amoye. Amoye is the name for Olosunta. Olosunta is the huge rock that we worship, that has a festival every year. It occurs in my year. That's the one that inspired the rocks rose to meet me in
yes,
Olosunta. Yeah. So Amoye Grammar School. Discipline was high. Many people thought the man was wicked. In fact, whenever he was going, his car was WAH 717. whenever he was going, some of our classmates would be praying that he should have an accident. I said,
Wow.
no, don't say this. Because he caned people generously, but not for the wrong reasons. Oh, that is school, mama way. Only it was tough. Well, I didn't receive much of his caning, and that's why many of my classmates said I had some sympathy for him. It's just that I didn't see much difference between him and my father. Anyway, at my grammar school, this is an opportunity. That was the first time I was meeting people from different parts of Nigeria. We sat, I mean, very competitive, very, very competitive. But before I got to my grammar school, I had started the Form 1 syllabus at home. Yes, I was going to whoever knew Latin, and they were teaching me and so on. So by the time I got to grammar school, I was 1 or 2 steps ahead of, yes, that was how secondary school life began. And I was enjoying it because I was learning. I think the first year I came 3rd. Second year I was in 1st position.
Wow.
And that was it. Yes, all along. Finished in 1966. We had to spend 6 years because our school was new. Yeah. We couldn't study science because our school didn't have enough money to build laboratories. So what did I do? I threw myself into the arts. Latin, Yoruba, literature, geography. The only science thing I did was health science. And I was woeful in mathematics. I didn't know math. But poetry, this was, and I had the best of teachers. I have been very lucky in the kind of teachers I've had. That's why when in 2002 I had to do a book for younger readers, there were 3 of them, book 1, book 2, book 3. I dedicated the first book to all the teachers that taught me primary school. Second, book 2, teachers who taught me high school, both at my grammar school and Christ school, and then the third, the teachers that taught me at the tertiary level, both here in Nigeria, Africa, Leeds, England, Toronto, yes, with their names. Yeah. Oh yeah, I hold them with both hands. They were the ones that decided my becoming a teacher. Yes, because they gave me the model that I liked, and they shaped my life. So my grammar school was full of activities. Our principal was very, 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 how should we say, caring about our future. Every Saturday we had social gathering. At that time there was no electricity. So we had a turntable. No, we started with a gramophone. His master's voice. You wrote it and you put it there. After some time, the turntable came. But again, no electricity, it was battery. When a record came out in Lagos on Monday, by Thursday, it was in our school.
Wow.
Music.
Wow.
Our principal would tell us we had to know how to dance. And one thing which you are the expert here. This part of the world is wonderful with music and dance. Dance styles changed every 3 months, more or less. When Ghana became independent, March 6, 1957, we had Ghana Nijoa, Ghana Nijoa, Uniluwa Efilusi, O Ghana Nijoa, Oe. And everybody will be dancing to it. Then there was a record. I don't know now who the artist was. Anybody Koyo Fonire Ankara Emaku Ayo Minira Otide Ghana Ankara was Accra. Nigeria would have become independent in 1956, but the Northerners said they were not ready. So Nkrumah beat us to it. But we still celebrated that. In music and poetry, And who is talking about history without music or poetry? Yeah, the dynamism of music is, it's coeval and coexistent with the dynamic of the passage of time, which is history. Yeah, we celebrated Ghana, and then later Balewa something. There was Balewa style too. And, then Eddie Okonta, when he came out with Siwo, no, Siwo, that's my wife. When he came out with Oriwo, that's the one Angela played for me and got me on my feet. I mean, and so on. Olaya, Roy, Chicago. Olowo baya ole, oremi baya omilo, okunla loju mi ri, so on. And Onile Gogoro, which our friend Cholanke wrote, which Chicago made popular. Yes, growing up, all these things went hand in hand with our academic work, and our principal made sure they did. He would be there to see that people were dancing, people, so
this was an all-boys school.
All boys.
Okay.
All boys. And you must not bring extra food to create. It was the food they prepared that you would eat. So the discipline was full. And finished in 1966. By 1960, early 66, they'd been telling me I will need to go further. Now, you couldn't go straight from there to university. You had to go through what you call HSC, Higher School Certificate course. And I said, this time it will be Christ School. So I think I sat the entrance exam for two schools, the Grammar School and Christ School. So, but Christ School, I went to their interview, I did. And why did I choose Christ School? When I was at Amali Grammar School, I was the one that led the school to quiz competitions and debates and so on. And Christ School always invited us. Then Christ School had an inter-house drama competition every year. And one year, 1965, our principal asked us to go. And I saw the Christ School quadrangle. I saw the thing like this. And then people finished, and I became really pensive. I said, my God, I want to stand on this stage someday. So, a few months later, the entrance exam thing, the invitation came and so I got to Christ School January 1966. Within 2-3 weeks of my getting to Christ School, there was an opportunity for a play, Ibenyadun. And of course, with all my experience, I got the lead role. I even composed the opening glee, which was, we did it the Christian way, Christ School. What was it now? Iko loko sipa agunre ojumo rodo. Iko lo ni ko dena de aoki Jesu bajao. Iko oko. Ipanamo Dalimo Ebo. Our house was Dalimo House. There were 4 houses in Christ School. Each had to present 2 plays. And there would be a panel of judges that would that was Christ School again.
Who wrote Ibenyadun?
I did.
You wrote the play? Okay.
Yes, I did. Even the first one, the Emperor, what is it now? The Lost Prince or whatever. I also wrote it, but with the support of our Christ School, fantastic school. Many members of the house were suggesting things and so on, but I was the one who actually set the thing down. And I didn't, because of that, want to play the lead role, but it was they who said, no, you will have to do this. And soon after, I saw Agidimo. Christ School is on top of a hill. That hill is called Agidimo. Agidimo is actually the rhinoceros insect with a very hard shell. And I said, then, I don't know if you've heard the name of Moyo Gundipe.
Yes.
He was the one sitting to my side. We were in the same house, we were in the same class, we did the same combination except fine art. He went for fine art while I went for economics. So I told him, let's revive Agidina. He and I sat down and we planned it. Moyo was good with that. Yes, he did the rhinoceros insect picture, which we use as the mast. I was the chief editor, and I wrote the editorial, and I said, we have to have a woman's section. In fact, one of the women called me yesterday. We are old people now. Yeah, let them speak to the girls and so on. Do Professor we did
So
that.
Christ School was now a mixed school. What's gender?
Now, it got mixed the year I got there.
Okay.
Because it used to be Christ School one part and Ekiti Girls High School on the other side.
Okay.
There was a road between us, so but now we used to cross over. So that was Christ School again. I was studying, but the extracurricular activities were there.
So, but at this time, were you already writing poetry? Because you wrote this play. Was this your first play, or had you been writing plays before? Poetry?
Before Christ School, I had tried my hand on. I wouldn't say that I wrote plays as such, but it was more or less like me being given a part and I contributing something to it. Yeah, but Christ School was where I really did it, and Christ School was where I won my first poetry prize. It happened like this. Our drama coordinator, Mr. V. Damala, was also the art teacher, and it was 1968. I was already in part 2, and Chief Mr. Damala then called me. Osundare, sir, said again, talking about what Nigeria was at that time. Western State Boys and Girls Club. Yes, based in Ibadan here, Ministry of Information and Ministry of Education. So they were organizing this for every festival. They would bring students from different schools to do this. There was a poetry competition. In fact, that was the top exercise. So my teacher, and of course, Mr. Damala is an art teacher. He's a culture man. He was a culture man. He was the one in charge of the whole Ekiti zone. So then he told me, there is this thing, I think you should write a poem. I said, yes, sir. I was supervising prep. Yeah, juniors. He went up to the studio to teach his students. When he was coming back, 1 hour, 10 minutes later, he called me, Osundare, because everything had to be submitted. Have you? I said, I finished, sir. He took it, looked at it. 4 stanzas. I know, yeah, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. Must be about 20 lines. Said, when did you write this? I said, no. It was still bleeding with ink.
Wow.
The title is It's the Hammer Time. I said, you wrote this? I said, yes, sir. Well, I'm not surprised. He took it away. About 2 months later, Friday assembly. The principal then said, we have something to rejoice about today. One of us has brought us honor.
You had no idea.
Yeah. So, they wrote a poem which has won a prize. And the title is It's the Hammer Time. So he looked, because the HSC side was, the HSC class was on the other side, so he looked in our direction. Osundare, are you there? I said, yes, rise. And I rose, and the entire school clapped. Everywhere I went, people voted. So I said, so poetry is so important. Winning this prize is so important. That set me really working. Talking about inspiration, and talking about how our environment can either kill or kill. Yeah, we had a good country. You know, the western state of Nigeria was well organized. So then they told me to edit the school, the house magazine. Now, they'd done it before, but I took a look. I said, this thing could be done better. We need a new title. Okay, you supply. No, we are going to do it democratically. So, we went around all the rooms in Dalimo House and told everybody to submit something. They all submitted, and we started knocking out. Eventually, no one title fitted exactly. So we had to couple things together. The color of our house is green, and we were always coming first, either in plays or in sports. So I said, what about the world champion? I said, oh yeah, the green champion. That was the title we gave to it, and I edited it. The principal saw it and called me the following week. You must go for the school. What will it for your house?
Wow.
So I started working on the school magazine. Then, about 3 months before we left, we graduated, they then told me, we want to write the school history. You finished in December, but you didn't go to the university until the following September. That was before the two timelines were merged. So then he said, the honor we can do you is we're going to retain you as a teacher. And it's greater honor. So I said, thank you, sir. I started working on it. Fortunately, one of our teachers came from Oxford. At that time, we had many white teachers in secondary schools. Mr. Christopher Ward. So, the principal told me, why he came to tell me, I said, no, you have come.
Yeah, you do
You
it.
that will be doing. He said, no, that would be like taking it away from you. I said, no, you're a teacher, you do it better. So, the two of us started working. And the book came out the year I left for the university. The title is Not in Name Only, and it is taken from the school prayer. Grant, O Lord, that this school will be a Christian school, not in name only, but in deed and in truth, for the sake of Christ, whose name will bear. You see the poetry in that prayer. It's everywhere, So, they invited me from the university for lunch. And so, Christ School again was busy, really busy for me. But passed. I applied to only two universities, University of Lagos and University of Ibadan. I wanted journalism, University of Lagos, and English, University of Ibadan. How did I get to come to Ibadan? We lived in Ikere-Ekiti, far from Ibadan, far from Lagos. The letter of admission from University of Ibadan came, and I instantly said yes. As I threw the letter into the post box, and I started going back to my house, the postmaster called me and said, you have another letter. And it was from the University of Lagos. So I had to write to them to tell them, I'm sorry, this and that. I would have been in the first set of the first BA class in mass communications at the University of because before then they had been running the diploma course. And I think only 7 of us were admitted from the same country, from the whole country. So it was then time to go to the university. And the principal of high school called me and said, we got to release some scholarship. My grammar school, my first school, called me and gave me the scholarship.
Wow.
But again, it was Christ School that gave me the offer first. And I said yes. A week later, I don't know what the letter from my grammar school came. But I had already said yes. And the principal had presented this to the Board of Governors. And they had congratulated me. I had to make a personal visit to my school and tell the principal. And the principal said, we are happy that we are doing this. That's how I got to the University of Ibadan to study English. When I got here, 1 month later, another letter came from the Ministry of Education. I had been given a federal scholarship.
Oh, wow.
Yes. I told some of my friends, I said, I thought about it. I said, Bali, let somebody else take this. The federal government scholarship was bigger, really bigger, but I had already come to Christ school. They had paid my fees. They gave me an allowance. I said, no. So they were thanks. I wrote back to them to thank them. It was Christ school that saw me through the university.
So you turned down the federal
Oh,
scholarship?
yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Did you apply for this federal scholarship, or
No.
you were just the government just knew about the students and they were
Yeah,
offered?
because our results.
Oh, wow.
In those days, things were, there was no mesoma. I mean, exams were sacred. 1966, when we were sitting the WAEC exam, now the person that would supervise, the chief supervisor, must be somebody far from your school, that your school you didn't know, or who had no business with your school. The papers will go to the postmaster. The postmaster will keep the thing in the safe. On the morning of the exam, the chief examiner will then come and sign for this, and the thing will have a seal. First thing the examiner did, we were all seated in the hall, and say, this is the exam you are going to do. It is this, in this envelope, sealed and signed. Can I open? And they will say yes. Then he will open. There was nothing like exam leakage. It was impossible. Yeah. That was. So our results were respected everywhere. Yeah. So university education began, and again, of course, people hadn't seen before. There were only 3 black lecturers in the English department. All the others were white.
Oh, yeah. And you got into UI at what year?
1969.
69.
Yeah, 1969. Mr. L. Ayobanjo, who later became professor, who later became my teacher, who later became vice chancellor of the University of Ibadan. Professor Dr. Niyi Osundare taught me oral literature and took me back to those festivals. Dr. Dan Zefbai taught me literary theory. Fortunately, 2 of them are still alive, and I'm communicating with them. So university education came. I was admitted to study Latin because they said my Latin was really, really good. Latin, I think, they said I had the best result in 3 subjects. Best result in West Africa.
Oh, wow.
Because in those days, yeah, Gambia, Sierra Leone, Ghana, and so on, they will meet and tabulate everything. It was my principal that told me, after I announced it in the assembly. So the University of Ibadan then gave me Latin. They gave me major. I got here. I said, this will put me in the Faculty of Arts throughout. I want something out there in the social sciences. And I want drama, because I'm already Shoyinka to be taught by this one. So I went to the head of the department and said, well, the only one you can change is your major. So I said, I will replace Latin with sociology, social sciences, and I'm going to replace history with drama. There was no Department of Theatre Arts then. It was called School of Drama, with Shoyinka as director. So the principal said, yeah, but I had to go to the 2 departments to beg them. Because they said they wanted me. So this was how I ended up with English, drama, sociology. And I tell you, I'm happy I had that combination. Later on, in my graduate years, started talking about the sociology of literature. I ended up with sociolinguistics. All things are connected. I never knew where things were coming. So 1972, with a better night I was complaining that we were being pampered. You know, in the morning, how do you want your eggs, sir?
Wow.
Sunny side up? Or is it scrambled? Will it be scrambled? Or will it be Africans or whatever? And then you will eat again. If you were not satisfied, you go and have more. If you had a guest, you bring the guest and will be served. Sundays, we had our lunch, usually jollof rice, chicken, and squash. And 2 hours later, what was called high tea. High tea. You go again, there will be cake and tea and high tea. And about 2 hours later, you will be coming for
dinner.
For dinner, you know. Those things have changed now, you know. I enjoyed it, but I was feeling guilty in a way. I knew that was rather artificial because it estranged many of our people from here, especially Atapata Dide. You know, Atapata Dide could do two things to you. When you really have achieved now, it's either it alienates you from your base or it makes you humble. I think I have chosen the latter. That ladder that helped me to the top, I'm maintaining it. I'm not throwing it away. When I see a hungry person, I become hungry. You know. Again, this is why your music and your poetry are so important to me. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
So when you see a hungry person, then I
become hungry.
Yes. So and we can relate this to your work as a poet, because you're not just the kind of poet or the kind of writer who writes for the fun of it or writes just for awards. You've actually been described by many people as an activist, as somebody who has a very strong conscience, who speaks out on behalf of the downtrodden, somebody who doesn't just complain or lament, but who's always trying to provide solutions and kind of get involved in governance and guiding our politicians and speaking out. And you've done this even in letters, in newspapers and things like that. I mean, we know that many people think, well, if you're an artist, you should be an artist. You've got no. I mean, some people would even say, some of them might be watching us now, who always say, what makes you think you have a right?
Yes.
The politicians know politics.
Yes.
How can you be writing? What do you know about politics?
Yeah. Yeah. They should read Ngugi's, one of Ngugi's books, Writers in Politics. That's the title. That's the second book he wrote after being released from incarceration in Arab Mois, Kenya. The first one is Detained, that the his memoirs as a prisoner. Then later on, Writers in Politics. It is in Writers in Politics it says, every writer is a writer in politics. The question is, what or whose politics? Yeah. We are all implicated one way or another. When people say that kind of thing to me, what you have just said, the question I ask is, and this is the question I ask myself all the time, where would I be? Where would my art be if there were no audience? If the audience were too hungry to read, too poor to buy books, or the music, if they were too angry or too worried to listen. We need the audience more than the audience needs us. It's one of the things I mentioned in my keynote address on Friday about this Yakpa syndrome. Call it Yakpa Yanu. We have to demythologize it. I know, because for many reasons I have been shuttling between the two places, between the West and Nigeria for about 20 years now. And I know what exile does to an artist. America doesn't have any responsibility to listen to me. They don't have any obligation. No. And I shouldn't take their hospitality for granted. On January 28th this year, Tunde Odunlade Studio and Anna Oyo branch held a reception for me at the Tunde Odunlade gallery there. It was a time of fuel crunch and the
cash
crunch
crisis.
And I was wondering, should we postpone this? Can people come? I was surprised when I saw the crowd. And they were saying, thank you, we're happy to see you. And I said, no, sit down. I should be the one thanking you. Without you, there can be no me. Yeah. Art is call and response. Without response, art dies. Oh, I'm talking to a performer and a poet who is not a mere entertainer. That is one other problem I have with contemporary Nigerian music. Entertainment. Who is really ready to be entertained in Nigeria today? I mean, with all the hunger around, with all the kidnapping and so on. Entertainment, yes, but that's not the ultimate. There must be something in that entertainment too. No. So, I don't know when people say people's poet, this and that. I feel flattered. But I know I'm not a prophet. I don't have the power of the Pope. I don't have the power of a military dictator. I can't hold the gun to people's head and say, obey me, I'm not a Kabiesi or whatever. No, but I know how to put words together, and maybe something could come out of this. But basically, I can't sleep when there is injustice. No, I can't. And this is why, at a point when we were fighting for democracy in this country, the people who earn 20 million a month now, who say they are our representatives in Abuja and also the state houses, don't know. They were on the side, many of them were on the side of the military when we were fighting them. I remember one day, Bekora and some Kuti came, something for democracy. Campaign for democracy, CD. Yeah, it was the stay-at-home thing we were doing then. And, Femi Falana, came later. We were facing this. Are you going to talk about Shoyinka? A price was placed on Shoyinka's head by Abacha. Each time I was traveling out of this country, invariably there would be somebody at the airport, one or two people. Where are you going? I have been invited by Sweden. This is where I'm going. How did they know about you? They read my work. But you are a teacher. You are in the university. I say yes. There are teachers there too. Yes. My letters were seized many times. I didn't know when I had invitation from abroad, the letters wouldn't report in my box. And I didn't know. I wouldn't know until the thing was over and the people wrote to me to say, why didn't you come? That we don't like no-shows. And I was I didn't see your letter. Second stage, they started seizing the letter. But when they entered the event was over, they would then put the opened letter in my box.
Oh, wow.
To punish me, to let me know, I had to take one of them to the postmaster at the university gate. The man looked at me and said, let's go out. He had to leave his office because those were the Abacha days, because his office might have been bugged. So this is order from above. We know the work you are doing, you and others, that you see it. So many of us suffered quietly, but my family too. The day I left, because I had to take my deaf daughter to the US, I had to make the arrangements. My wife couldn't leave the airport until the following morning. Oh yes, that was August 14. 1997. The Tribune carried a front page report. Osundare quits Nigeria.
Oh, wow.
Commonwealth poetry winner quits Nigeria. We were very, very sad because I just wanted to sneak out. Of course, the security people they were there at the airport. Yeah. So here we still are. Whenever I was abroad, I remember many places where everybody would be white, but there would be one black person. And I would know that that white person must be a Nigerian.
The black person.
A black person. Sorry.
Must be a Nigerian.
Must be a Nigerian. I remember asking one in Cardiff after I had finished and we were doing the cocktail. Oh, Professor, you're reading. And I looked at him, I said, adjust your wire.
Adjust your wire. Because he knew he was an agent of the state.
No. I said, no, I just see you doing your work.
So they were sent
Of
agents
course,
after
everywhere,
you went.
yes.
Wow.
You have to make your report. It was a bad regime. Dictatorial regimes are always like that. They are unsure because they know they are holding power, not on trust for the people, but against the people's wish. Abacha didn't mean well for Nigeria, and Babangida prepared the way for him. This country has been through hell. It's really terrible. Mine is infinitesimal when you compare with what people like Shoyinka, Ganifa, Femi Falana, what they suffered. So this is why I keep saying this democracy it didn't fall on our laps. We have to safeguard it. Yes, the little that we can. And this is why I have refused to take any government job. I have been saying no. You can't run with them and hunt them at the same time. They know how they buy people off. At times, I wish these people knew how really angry I am. There are pretenders. That's what not all of us are pretenders. Shoyinka was 89 last week. He's going to be 90. Shoyinka is still there with his interventions. Started this in 1959. Wow. He is still there. We can't give up on this country. No. This is one country where no electricity and whatever I'm doing, I try and so on, but I never give up. The works I did between November last year and March this year, when I was home, I couldn't have done anywhere else in the world. I was here during the fuel crunch and the Naira crunch.
Yeah.
That road, I remember one night, I rose my room upstairs and I parted the window. And I saw that there was a queue from that place right almost as far as the beginning of this long road. And people were quarreling. And you were hearing bang, bang. For goodness sake. Of course, we were all in darkness. How can this be happening? For goodness sake. This was... straight away I went to my desk and I started scribbling, dying in the fuel queue. That was how I did it. Or the one about our currency. I had 45,000 naira in my hand that I was keeping to my breast, and they said it would be useless in 3 days' time. So I went to my banker. My banker took the money, and I said, how do I go back home? Give me money. He said, the new money has not come. Yes. How could a government put people through that kind of... So I wrote, incompetence marries corruption. No. Corruption marries incompetence. And dark, unruly tragedy is born. Those incapable of thinking have become our leaders of thought. Yeah, so you have to enter it, but you know that you're taking side and you're taking a stance, and that it is costly.
So the writer is political. Either he is for this or for that.
To actually say that you don't like political art is to make a political statement. Oh yes, every writer is a writer. Every musician is a musician in politics. Every writer is a writer in politics. Yeah, the question is whose politics and what politics. The avoidance of politics is itself political. Yes, people, you see something and you look away. No. Or you begin to paint the wrong picture of what you have seen. No, it's this is why yesterday night again you gave me another sleepless night. It was about 2 hours before I could really, when I was seeing those visuals
from the video for the Small People's Anthem.
Yes. What came to my mind was Igbe Mekono. Yes. It's so touching, And this is what I see and hear and feel and touch in your music all the time. So we thank you for it, because it is very, very inspirational.
So when you were talking now, you mentioned when you went, the first time you went to the US, well, not the first time, but when you went to the US for the sake of your daughter, and then you ended up working there. You were there when there was this natural disaster, this Hurricane Katrina, and you were there in New Orleans, and I just remember reading in the news about you. It was the news in Nigeria was basically Hurricane Katrina and then Niyi Osundare, and it was all like intertwined, like as if you they couldn't mention one without mentioning the other. You were like the big news for us when we were talking about, because I think you being there brought home the
severity
of that incident to our people.
Yes.
Did you, when you were stuck? Because I read a place where you said you and your wife were stuck in the attic of your house, and for 26 hours.
Yes.
Until you were rescued.
Yes.
Did you think your last moment had come?
Oh yes. Oh yes. What happened really was in July that year, that is July 26, I delivered my valedictory lecture. I'm going to look for a copy for you. Oh yes, it's very unsparing. About the university I used to know, the university system I used to know, and what they are now. And that the question I'm asking myself is, can I really reproduce for my student what my teachers have given me? The situation is on. So it was still in the news. Soon after, I left for the US to begin the fall semester. And then Hurricane Katrina was announced. We knew it was going to be a severe hurricane. But our daughter was with us. She's deaf. But she was now at a university. This country would have wasted her. She was at Gallaudet University in Washington, D.C. So we decided to evacuate her first before evacuating ourselves. But we got lost in the traffic jam. Everybody was trying to run away from New Orleans. So we couldn't get to the airport. I think we were almost half a mile from the airport. So we had to go back home. My wife then said, okay, we have to shelter at the hospital at which I work. That hospital is about the oldest public hospital in New Orleans. Very, very solid. Said yes, but we have to evacuate this girl first. At 3 in the morning, 3 o'clock the following morning, we were on the road. Fortunately, our girl was able to get a chance on the last plane. By the time she left, the wind had started. So, how far can we drive before this? Because the thing will flip over our car, and New Orleans is surrounded by water. We might end up in one of the bayous, and the thing will sink with us. What do we do? She said, okay, I think we may be hearing from my hospital. We didn't hear from the hospital, and the thing really came. The wind came first. We survived it. It was the following morning, my wife said, what kind of water is this? I said, Omi Okingu, okay. I said, unless you use a submersible pump. But this one was driven by the ocean current.
And it was coming
It
up.
was coming up to us. Before we knew what was happening, it had reached our driveway. Before we knew what was happening, it was under. Before we knew what was happening, it began to lift the carpet. I said, what do we do? And then 2 feet, 3 feet, and then it began to move us. And all I was doing was rescuing my books. I put them on top of the shelf. I put it on 4 feet. My wife said, Niyi, we are drowning. What can we do? Said the Terminix, that's the man who comes to fleet our house, used a ladder here the other time. So I got there. I tried to force the ladder down. My hand was slippery. Why? Mud and excreta and whatever. The sewage system of the city was in the water. Yes. Smell all over the place. We kept on, until at last the thing just came down. Wow. There were 8 rungs of the ladder. The water swallowed the ladder up to the 6th. Wow. So I went again. All the shelves, I was saving my books and my manuscripts on top of the shelf. And the computer, they fell into it and disappeared. Our computer disappeared with all my manuscripts, with all my books, and the books of the children and my wife's and my art collections. So my wife put her phone between her teeth, and I had a small transmitter, radio, I had that between my teeth too, and we went up to yes. Our lower extremities were in the smelling water.
Wow.
But we were able to keep our head above.
And that's how you stayed for 26 hours?
26 hours. By the time we had done 15 hours or so, I was feeling tired because we kept on shouting, help! The entire, all the street signals had disappeared under the water. Then my wife began to gasp because the thing was choking her lungs. It was at that time Nigeria came to my mind. What am I doing here? If Nigeria were a country, because I went to every school, we couldn't fix our girl. I went as far as Nairobi, as far as South Africa. We couldn't fix her because I'm here now. If both of us die, it will mean the end for this girl.